5 new shows to tackle this week, including Guillermo del Toro's interesting anthology series, Cabinet of Curiosity. And, it's another week, so why not another Star Wars show? Let's talk TV. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to TV news and reviews for the week. Just 5 shows to talk about this week. I think we'll get more into like the 4-show, 5-show a week model till the end of the year. Most networks and streamers are more concerned with holiday content, beefing up things for mid-season, and I have a whole bunch of mid-season lineups for you as well. But yeah, that's just fine because I've been about a week or two behind on shows of the whole year, so it'd be nice to try and catch up a little bit on those and crank the shows out a little, less than once a week, maybe every 6 days or something. But we're going to talk about, like I said, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Tales of the Jedi is a new animated series on Disney+. The Peripheral, which is a sci-fi drama starring Chloe Grace Moretz. From Scratch with Zoe Saldana, which is sort of a romantic drama, I guess we could say. And then SAS Rogue Forces, which is on, or Rogue Heroes rather, SAS Rogue Heroes, which is on Epix, sort of a military action drama kind of show. But first, of course, it's all about the news. I've got a lot of it for you, so it's just as well we only have 5 shows this week. So let's talk about renewals and cancellations first. Neil Gaiman's The Sandman has been renewed for season 2 on Netflix. A lot of buzz behind that show. I think there were some, varying degrees of the reviews, but I think I enjoyed it a good bit. I gave it somewhere in the B range, if I remember. Bad Sisters is a comedy returning for season 2 on Apple Plus. Apple Plus really getting behind a lot of their original shows. They have not had many cancellations. I think only 3 or 4 shows so far have been canceled. Or, like in the case of Jason Momoa's C, I think that was destined to only be 3 seasons, that kind of thing. So, I don't know that I would call that canceled, but in the streaming world, to get past 1 or 2 seasons can be tough. But Apple seems to be behind their shows, and I liked that one. I thought that was very funny. And then on Netflix, The Watcher and Monster, both renewed for 2 more seasons. Very interesting because Monster is the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Okay, that's going to now shift gears into an anthology format like some of the other Ryan Murphy stuff, American Horror Story, American Crime Story. Now we'll have Monster as okay. So it won't be Jeffrey Dahmer. It will be somebody else in season 2 and somebody else in season 3. That one's been renewed for 2 and 3. Who knows where they're going to go with that. I hope whatever they do with it, it's a little more palatable than the Dahmer stuff because I really, really did not care for that show. And then The Watcher, interesting because, that's Ryan Murphy as well, but I thought that was going to be kind of wrapped up. I didn't finish it, but I know some people told me they were dissatisfied with the ending. Well, maybe part of that was an open-ended nature. So maybe we will focus on the same family for season 2. I don't know. Or maybe that will turn into anthology as well. That has not sort of been announced either way so far. But Monster, we do know, is going to be an anthology. And then also Netflix has renewed The Empress for season 2. This premiered in September. I did not review this one. It's one of their non-English shows. And usually I don't do those unless they get like a ton of buzz. I had not really even heard about this. But it's been in Netflix's non-English worldwide streaming shows for over 5 weeks. So that's obviously something that they're happy about and renewing. Maybe I will, as the year winds down. Like I said, I have sort of less and less shows usually in December to review. So maybe I will check that out. And then Kelly Clarkson. The Kelly Clarkson Show renewed for 2 more seasons as a 4th season sees massive growth, which on live television is near impossible these days. For the first time, it is airing in all 211 television markets in prime slots, meaning mid-afternoon or late morning, basically. It's the only syndicated talk show to grow in consecutive seasons. So it grew in season 3 and it's grown again in season 4. Obviously, the growth for season 4 is probably because Ellen is no longer on. So, the people that watched Ellen every day looking for other opportunities, and Kelly Clarkson seems like the natural choice. And the show is also posting year-over-year double-digit gains in adults 25 to 54 in many of the top markets. Again, I think that's probably the Ellen factor. Her show is no longer on. But I have a very special love for the Kelly Clarkson show. It was the first show I ever reviewed on TV News and Reviews back in 2019. So, I just have a special place in my heart for that show. All right, series endings. Westworld, this was huge, not returning for season 5. Viewership has sunk from 12 million in season 1 to 4 million in season 4, even with delayed viewing. So obviously that's, a big chunk lost. And 4 million is still good, but it's a very expensive show to make. So I imagine that was probably a huge factor for them in deciding to let it go. In other sort of long-term series endings, A Million Little Things is going to end with the upcoming season 5. That's on ABC. That premieres in February. I have the whole mid-season lineup coming up here in a moment. But A Million Little Things, that will be done. So it's a small season, I guess, if it's only premiering in February, probably 10 or 13 episodes. Carnival Row is going to end on Amazon Prime with a season 2, which premieres in February. Season 1, I reviewed this pretty early on, too. It came out in 2019, so we've seen now a 3-year gap between season 1 and 2 of this show. Is anyone interested? Does anyone care anymore? I'm not sure, but they're going to put it out anyway. Cara Delevingne and Orlando Bloom star in that. But they announced season 2's renewal a month before season 1 even premiered. So, I guess they wanted to stick to their guns on that one. And then Tuca and Birdie is done again, this time at Cartoon Network. Netflix had the original series, and in a rare move, we've only seen it with a couple of shows, a small handful, moving from Netflix to a linear network. And One Day at a Time did it, partially because the rights of that were mostly owned by Sony. So Netflix didn't really own the rights to the show. But Tuca and Birdie, I don't know what the situation is there, but it had a couple of years at Netflix, and I think a couple of years as well at Cartoon Network. But that is once again finished. All right. Let's talk about the mid-season. So I have announcements for Fox, ABC, and NBC. CBS not really airing a lot of new mid-season programming, so they have not put out a specific, we're going to have this lineup. I'm just going to talk really about the new shows that are coming to these networks, because obviously there is now in this day and age, there's the winter premiere as well. But most shows that are on year-round, their winter premiere is going to be sometime in January. There are a few in February on ABC I'll mention, just because it's worth noting that they won't be on until the end of February. But we'll start with Fox, because that was the first network to announce. So Monday, January 2nd is going to see the premiere of Fantasy Island. This was a summer show in 21, and they decided to, or maybe in 2020? I can't even remember now, but they decided to anyway hold it for not summer, but mid-season. I think it was 2020, so that's going to come back. Wednesday, January 4th is Special Forces World's Toughest Test. We've talked about that. Sunday, January 8th is a new drama called Alert, and that will move the next day to its regular Monday time slot. They've been premiering shows on Sundays lately. They did the same with, not Nashville, what's the country music show they have that's horrible? Monarch. They premiered that on Sunday, which I think is weird because that's typically their animation domination, but whatever. Wednesday, January 11th, we'll see the return of Celebrity Name That Tune, and Special Forces will move into its regular time slot. Then Tuesday, on January 17th, 911 Lone Star. This is a shift from the regular Monday slot on that one. Sunday, January 22nd, Accused, and then that will go in its time slot premiere on that Tuesday, January 24th. And then following Super Bowl, 53, I think, or I don't know what Super Bowl it is anymore, 57 or something. But Sunday, February 12th, they will premiere the new season of Next Level Chef, which I enjoyed that show. And that's going to slide into its normal time slot Thursday, February 16th, along with the new, I think it's a comedy series, Animal Control. And then ABC, all right, they've got Tuesday, January 30th is the premiere of Will Trent, which is a new drama, I think maybe a legal drama. Thursday, January 5th will be Celebrity Jeopardy, which is interesting because I thought that was going to be a fall only thing, but I guess they're going to do that year round. And then The Parent Test at 9, which I guess is another new game show. And then at 10, The Chase will be returning. Love that. Friday, January 6th, we'll see the new premiere of Shark Tank. Wednesday, February 8th, Not Dead Yet, which is the new series from Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin, new comedy series. And then at 10, we will have A Million Little Things with the final season premiere. Sunday, February 19th will be America's Funniest Home Videos, American Idol, and a new show called The Company You Keep. And then Thursday, February 23rd, these are all just winter premieres, but it's interesting to note that they're premiering so late in the year. Station 19, Grey's Anatomy, and Alaska Daily. We won't be seeing new episodes of that until late February. And then also, it's worth noting, The Wonder Years has been announced. That is moving to ABC's summer schedule. They only have one night of comedy now, and with full season pickups for Abbott Elementary, The Goldbergs, and The Connors, and now the new Gina Rodriguez show. There was, I guess, just no room for it. To me, maybe you have a second night of comedy, but I guess not to ABC. And I guess that means Home Economics is only on a half season. Because that obviously is what's being replaced by the Gina Rodriguez show. And then over on NBC, Monday, January 2nd is the return of America's Got Talent, The All-Stars. Tuesday, January 17th, I'm excited about this. Night Court will be premiering. Loved that show in the 80s and happy to see that coming back. And then New Amsterdam, that night will be the 2-hour series finale. So we won't be seeing that, in the future in the winter, but that is, I think, worth noting. Tuesday, January 24th is the premiere of American Auto. So that'll be sort of Night Court will be paired with that on their Tuesday night hour comedy block. Sunday, February 19th will be Magnum P.I. That'll be a first for NBC. It was on CBS for years, and then NBC picked it up for 2 half seasons. And then a new drama called Found. Sunday, February 26th will be The Blacklist. I can't believe that is still on. Monday, March 6th will be the winter version of The Voice. And then Tuesday, March 27th will be That's My Jam. And NBC has not yet set dates for Grand Crew, which is a show I really liked. They paired that last year with American Auto. And then unscripted shows The Wheel and LA Fire and Rescue. The Wheel, I remember that. I don't think that's been on for a couple of years. That's the game show with Chris Hardwick's The Wall. What is The Wheel? Oh, The Wheel, I think, is Dax Shepard, right? Okay, well, that hasn't been on for a couple of years. I don't know what's going on there. All right, so a little bit more news here, and then we'll move into the reviews. But in casting news, Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to play Hermes in Disney Plus's Percy Jackson TV show. He is a messenger messenger god, I should say, who looks out for travelers and thieves and is a bit of a trickster himself. Love Lin-Manuel. Star Wars: The Acolyte, I think is how you would pronounce it, is going to include Carrie-Anne Moss, Lee Jung-jae from Squid Game, Dean Charles Chapman from Game of Thrones, Jodie Turner-Smith from Queen and Slim. All these people have 3 names. Amanda Stenberg, Manny Jacinto from The Good Place, and also Daphne Keane, who was the little girl in Logan. So another Star Wars show coming soon to Disney+. Not sick of those yet. Vicki Lawrence is also coming to Call Me Kat, as the late Leslie Jordan's mother. Now, I don't know if the episode in question that she's in has been announced already. I don't know if she's joining as a regular cast member. Some up in the air questions still, because I know Leslie Jordan filmed, I think, 4 or 5 full episodes before he passed. So I'm not sure if she's, sort of doing that with him, or in his absence, are they going to have her come on as a regular cast member, kind of like they did with John Ritter when he died on 8 Simple Rules. They brought a couple new people in as family members. So, all right. In announced shows, Lily Singh is going to host Battle of the Generations in Canada for CTV, but usually we get those eventually in America. There's going to be 20 episodes there and a possible $25,000 cash prize every episode. Sounds a bit like the Generation Gap program that Kelly Ripa was hosting, but that show was awful. So hopefully this one is a little better. And next week, Peacock is in odds and ends news. Peacock next week is going to start streaming NBC Live to their top tier subscribers. Now, that is not the ad-based level, or if you get it free through Comcast, it's not that. But if you pay, I think it's $8 a month or something for Peacock to get the ad-free, you will get the NBC Stream live, which is, I mean, that's pretty cool. It's a first. We talked about this actually just last week that NBC, or Peacock rather, was doing Hallmark Channel stuff live. So starting on November 30th, this will be NBC streaming live, which is pretty cool. Sometimes they do it with SNL as well. Not every week, but like the Dave Chappelle one last week, they did live on Peacock as well. And then finally on reboots and spinoffs, Degrassi reboot, that is dead at HBO Max. That was talked about for a bit. It got a straight to series order in January of 2022, but because of all of the WB cutbacks lately over at HBO Max and Discovery and all of that, that has gone away. So no more Degrassi. I never watched it, so I don't care about that, but I know a lot of people love that show. So, all right, let's move into the reviews now. We've talked so long about, but I knew with the mid-season stuff, we've had a lot of news. So let's start, I guess, with Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. This is on Netflix. It is a horror anthology series. They released it right before Halloween, a few days before. And like I said, I'm a couple weeks behind always, so just sort of catching up. But this is a collection of personally curated stories by Del Toro. He did not write, I think, any of them, although he did direct a couple of the 8 episodes. But I'm sorry, you know what? He co-wrote a couple of them as well, or put the story, the story as Guillermo del Toro. He came up with the concept, but maybe he didn't write it. So, but anyway, he's got his hands in this whole thing, and he does the old Rod Serling, Alfred Hitchcock standby, where he comes on and introduces each episode, which I think is pretty cool. With the anthology series, I like to watch 3 of them instead of the usual 2 that I watch, just because anthologies are so wildly different from episode to episode, because it all depends on the subject matter, the cast of characters, the writing, the directing, which usually in an anthology is by different people every episode. And so this one is pretty interesting. I like Guillermo del Toro. I think he's got a unique visual style. The Shape of Water is an excellent movie. It won him a Best Picture and I think a Best Director Oscar as well. And we see some of that stuff on display here. Episode 1 was about this right-winger gun guy who has a storage unit, and it's like a storage wars kind of thing. He takes a couple of different storage units and ends up getting cursed. So that was pretty interesting, but a bit standard, I guess, but well written anyway. And then we have a grave robber in episode 2, which was disgusting. There was a bunch of rats in it that was like, at one point he was buried in these rats that were falling. It was horrible to watch. Too gross for me, absolutely. And then episode 3 is about an autopsy story. So anyway, something a little different in every episode, but they all sort of do have that kind of Guillermo del Toro stamp, sort of like Twilight Zone, had the Rod Serling stamp, even though he didn't really write a lot of, I mean, I guess maybe in the first season he did, but, as it went on, he didn't write or direct a ton of them, but they all sort of had that similar kind of feeling to them. Like, you can tell when you watch this is not, it's not necessarily the Twilight Zone, because this is all horror-based stuff. It could really happen, it's not necessarily sci-fi, or fantasy stuff. It's, just gross real-life kind of things. I mean, I guess a little bit of sci-fi with the curse, right? But, I don't know. I'm one who does mildly sort of believe in that stuff, I guess. So, for me, maybe that could happen. But look, it's shot well. It's certainly horrifying. I think they're hitting the right notes there. But this is definitely not a show, I think, for kids. And it's got the TV MA as well. But that doesn't usually, parents don't usually care about that. They're like, oh, watch whatever you want, Johnny. But this is one where I think certainly that second episode is, it's so gross. And the autopsy episode, not really much better in terms of like being less squeamish, so this is, I think, definitely an adult, version. But these are all sort of in the traditional like gothic sort of thing. And Cabinet of Curiosities is a phrase, I looked it up, that has been around a while. Like, Del Toro didn't invent it or anything. It dates back a while. So, I think This is a really well done show. It's a little horrific, maybe for my taste, but I think for the horror fans out there, especially now that Halloween is over, we're not really getting any horror movies right now. If you're looking for something to watch and you missed this one when it aired a few weeks ago, I would check it out. I leave Cabinet of Curiosities with an A minus. All right, next, let's talk, I guess, about Tales of the Jedi. This is yet another Star Wars show. What is this, the sixth one this year or something? I'm telling you right now, between the Marvel shows and the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, I'm getting really burned out with them. And I only have so much time in my life. And, I watch all of these new shows every week to review them for you guys. But, there's most of the Marvel shows I have yet to catch up on, and I want to. These, not so much. I might watch Andor, because I did actually really like Andor, which was the recent one right before this. But, Andor came out 2 weeks ago or so, like 2 weeks before this did. I don't understand how they're just cranking this garbage out, and it's not garbage, some of it, In fact, most of the Star Wars stuff I think I've given positive grades to, maybe all of it, but I'm burned out. I'm done. I don't care. At Marvel, at least I care about, because I've been following the movies forever. I've never been a Star Wars super fan or even mild fan, really. They're okay movies, but the fan base kind of turned me off and all of that. But anyway, so this is an anthology as well, and each episode tells a short story featuring various Jedi from the Star Wars prequel trilogy era. So we're talking the Phantom Menace and the Rise of the Sith or whatever, and all of that. So there's only six episodes, which is fine, and they're split into basically two different sort of parts. So I guess each one isn't necessarily a different Jedi, but most of them are involving Count Dooku and Ashana Tano, which I don't even know. I saw the Phantom Menace once. I never saw the other two movies in the prequel. So I really don't care about this. I also think the animation is ugly. And these are all pretty short episodes, a lot like the Disney shorts that have been going on lately with, they did Cars, they did Big Hero 6 recently. So these are all between, 10 and 15 minutes or so, once you take away the 3 minutes of ending credits. So you really could get through all six of these in probably about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe. I chose not to do that. I only watched the two because I just don't care. But yeah, I think the animation is kind of ugly. And I know that the Clone Wars does have a similar look to it. I never got into the Clone Wars. Again, not a fan of Star Wars, and also just the look of it, the animation style, it did not appeal to me. And same thing here. Now, I will say it's pretty cool. Liam Neeson is reprising his role as Qui-Gon Jinn. So I love that. But Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson's not here. It is T.C. Carson who's been doing a lot of the Mace Windu voices in various, video games and cartoons over the years. So, fans familiar with the Star Wars animated stuff will recognize his voice. For me, I only really know Mace Windu as Sam Jackson, but whatever. Yeah, look, maybe this is great for Star Wars people. Maybe it's fine. For me, it was very blah, and I can't believe they're cranking these out every 3 weeks now. There's new Star Wars content. It's a C+ for me. If you're a Star Wars fan, I'm sure it's way higher. But I'm fed up with it, to be honest. All right, let's stick, though, in the whole sci-fi kind of realm here with The Peripheral. This is based on a 2014 book by William Gibson. And Westworld creators are on hand here as executive producers. So a lot of firepower here, a lot of big names. And it's about this gal, Flynn Fisher, who is played by Chloe Grace Moretz. This is set a little bit in the future. Technology has altered society, as obviously we're heading in that direction. But Flynn discovers a secret connection to an alternate reality, which includes a very dark future of her own. I wasn't sure what to think about this with the first episode, because it was not until it really got to sort of the hook at the end. And I've said this before, a lot of shows lately are doing that, where it's the first 40 minutes is sort of character building and whatever, and they're not getting to the meat and potatoes of what the actual story is going to be until like the cliffhanger of the first episode. They kind of do that here as well. And I won't really go into any more detail than that, but the second episode focuses way more on that. And I like that because the first episode I was like, what's even going on here? Like, I get it, like, but there doesn't seem to be a huge sci-fi component yet to it. Like, she's basically, in a video game, or not in it, but like she's got the headset on and she's like playing video games with people. And then we find out sort of the twist with that, the alternate reality thing at the end of the first episode, and then it gets really interesting. So if I was basing this on the first episode alone, it would be a much lower grade. Chloe Grace Moretz is in an interesting part of her career because, she was such a cute little child star, and she did a lot of interesting movies. She never was like a Disney type kid. She always chose interesting projects, but now that she's kind of in her 20s, she's been doing these, a lot of these like young adult sci-fi kind of things. It started with that movie, The Fifth Wave, years ago. And she just keeps doing, that sort of genre. I would like to see her move a little bit more into something else. But she's very good here. It's a character that, even though there's little nuances with her character, she doesn't play it any differently, I don't think, than a lot of these other characters she's played. So I would love to see her, branch out a little more and do maybe a heavy drama or something. Maybe even comedy. I don't know. Is she funny? We have yet to really see that, I feel like. Her character and her performance, it's very sort of rote for me. I've seen it so many times with her. But I like the premise. I bet the book is pretty interesting. I wasn't aware that a book existed. I'm not much of a sci-fi reader, but it sounds interesting from the premise and from the 2 episodes of this I've seen. So I would leave The Peripheral with a B. We'll go next back to Netflix with From Scratch, and this is a limited series, so I guess we're only getting 1 season, but you know how that goes sometimes. If it's a big success, they'll give it some extra time. But Zoe Saldana is the star of this. She plays Amy, and this again is from a book, but this is from a memoir, so this is, I guess a fairly true story, but it's an 8-episode series, and it's sort of in that vein that Netflix loves, of sort of the romantic drama. They've had success with Virgin River there, and I guess Bridgerton you could qualify for that as well. I think there's a little more sex in that one. This one is definitely more about the romance part, and it's also about food. This gal is in Florence, Italy, and she is a foodie. She wants to experience, everything that the world has to offer her, and along with that comes some romance, and there's some restaurant history stuff there as well. This is very sort of food porny. You look at it on the screen, it's like, oh man, that looks tasty. Like, I'm sure that's $100 plate. It looks tasty. This is all fine. Are we seeing anything new here though? I don't think so. We've gotten these shows for a long time now, and movies as well. I think about Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts, the eating part at least. Zoe Saldana is great. I do like now. See, this is somebody branching out from her sci-fi, sort of history. She's been parts of Avatar, Star Trek, and the MCU. So she's got her paws in some of the biggest sci-fi franchises of all time. But yes, unlike Chloe Grace Moretz, I do see her branching out a little bit in this. She doesn't do a lot of drama. She doesn't really do a lot of romance. Yes, there's a little bit of that in some of her franchise movies, but to have something, a standalone story contained to 8 episodes, getting to know this new character completely, well, no pun intended, but from scratch, and we sort of go on the journey with her. It's fine, but it's not breaking new ground. There's nothing really holding this above a lot of other shows in the genre. But if you're, a food person that loves watching food sort of, melt off the screen and you want to taste it, this definitely might be up your alley. I'm going to leave From Scratch with a B. All right, and let's take it home with the final here. SAS Rogue Heroes. This is on Epix. And this charts the creation of the Special Forces unit, the real life Special Forces. And it's based on a true to life book as well. And this is one of the most expensive shows ever made on UK television. It's a UK import. And I believe it because it looks just gorgeous and gorgeous in a war sense. Like, I don't mean it's, got beautiful scenery necessarily, but you can tell they spent money on this for sure. It looks like a movie. There are some scenes that go a little too dark in terms of, dark because it's war, so thematically, sure, but dark on the screen, that I had trouble seeing, like, okay, what's actually going on here? All right, that's a problem I've had with movies for the last year or two. TV, not so much. Usually they give us a little more light on TV series because, you can't figure out how big a person's TV is going to be. Maybe if you have a huge TV, you could see things a little bit better. I don't know, but for me, not so much. But apparently this is a limited series as well, and there's only 6 of them. And I know it's based on sort of the book and the creation of the Special Forces unit, but for me, I would like this to be a regular series. I've been actually going through Hogan's Heroes lately, which is obviously like a World War II concentration camp comedy show, and you think, well, that could never be done today, right? Although they've been, I think, working on Hogan's Heroes movies for like a decade, but this is actually very funny. This is probably with the shows we've had this week, all the sci-fi and horror stuff and the romance, this is the funniest show actually all week that I've reviewed, which seems weird, but it's true, and I think that makes it a little more palatable. I'm a kind of person that I do, through a lot of humor, get through difficult times or whatever, and I can see being in wartime and using your sense of humor to basically keep you sane, and keep things moving, and so you're not just crying in a corner all the time. I feel like if I ever were to go to war, and I feel like I'm too old now for that, if there is a World War III coming, but I think my sense of humor would be sort of something that gets me by, and so I actually appreciate that this has, I don't want to say a light tone, but it's definitely the funniest show of the week, and I think that's pretty authentic. I bet there's a lot of people that in the face of crisis do turn to kind of their sense of humor. So love that. The acting is fine. I don't really recognize any of these people. Well, the one guy I did know, let me look him up quick. Jack O'Connell. What do I know him from? Oh, he was the star of that movie Unbroken from years and years ago. So I guess his war movies and shows is kind of his thing, right? But yeah, personally, I would like to have seen this be more of a full-blown series than just a mini-series, because I think, I don't know, the war lasted, it's World War II, it lasted a while, so why not? It reminded me, in the sense of like the humor, to go back to that for a second, it reminded me a little bit about Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino. Look, obviously that isn't what I would call necessarily a comedy, but it had a lot of funny moments, because, yeah, war is hell, but sometimes you do need that sort of lighter side to get you through it. So I really like this show. And again, it's only 6 episodes, so it's a pretty quick watch. I leave SAS Rogue Heroes with an A-. All right, so that's it. All mildly positive or higher shows. Like Return of the Jedi, or whatever it's called, Tales of the Jedi. My C+ is very, very on a curve, just because if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll probably find some things to like here. But for somebody who has only even seen one of the prequel trilogy that they're referencing, I didn't care about any of this, you know. So take that grade sort of with a grain of salt. But for me personally, it's probably like a D or a D plus, you know. But I'll give it that bump just because I know there's people out there who are gonna love that show based on what they already know about the Star Wars universe. So, all right, well that will do it. We'll see y'all next week on Dan Reviews It for TV News and Reviews. Bye.